After his wife left for one night, he discovered an amazing, life-changing truth that revealed his heart. Jake stood in the quiet of their Maple Grove home, shadows long and flickering from the streetlights outside. It felt strange without Emily, his rock, even if just for one night. With her away caring for her ailing mother, an emptiness settled like a heavy blanket. As he ambled through their modest living room, the once vibrant laughter echoed in his mind. The whispers of shared stories resting in the corners seemed to mock his solitude. He wandered into the bedroom, running his fingers over the worn surfaces and half-open drawers, reminders of a life they had carefully built together. It was there he spotted a worn journal peeking out from beneath the bed, its delicate spine fading with time. Heart racing, he pulled it free, the dust swirling around him like memories rushing back. Flipping through the pages revealed a side of Emily he hadn't seen in years. Strokes of color danced on the paper, sketches of whimsical trees and enigmatic faces tangled with words that spoke of dreams left behind. Her dreams as he read her aspirations of painting the town mural, hosting art classes for kids, and her longing for adventure, regret clawed at his chest. Had they really allowed the weight of life to smother her fire? A lump formed in his throat. Jake realized he was just as much to blame, prioritizing the grind of bills over love, ambition over dreams. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with dawn breaking through the window. The warmth of the sun felt like a promise, a chance to reclaim what they had lost. Jake's heart raced with determination. He sought to understand Emily's dreams while wrestling with his own fears. The community announced an art initiative, and for the first time in years, he saw a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this could be the spark they needed, a way to breathe life back into their relationship. But when he stepped up to the canvas himself, the weight of insecurity bore down hard. Doubt silenced his voice, seeped into his heart, overshadowing his fervor. Jake penned a letter to Emily, hoping to bridge the gap, but instead, confusion echoed like silence in their home. Then came the community event, buzzing with laughter and snippets of chatter. Jake trembled, standing before their neighbors. He laid bare his vulnerabilities, the crushed dreams, the sacrifices. So many faces mirrored his feelings, and for a moment, he felt seen, understood. But deep down, he still feared for their future. Just when Jake thought everything would fall apart, Emily returned home. The air crackled with tension, their eyes met, both searching for the words left unspoken. Would they turn the tide, rekindle the shared fire, and support each other, or was this the fading end of their love story? Jake's heart raced, thoughts racing back to the journal and the vibrant dreams it held. He took a breath, heart pounding, wondering if he had finally discovered the truth they desperately needed. Emily stood in the doorway, a soft sigh escaping her lips as she took in the sight of Jake, his expression a mixture of hope and trepidation. Moments stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words, the air thick with the weight of everything they both carried. "Jake," she started, her voice trembling slightly as she crossed the threshold. It was a fragile bridge, built of hesitation and longing. I didn't expect to see you so alive." Her acknowledgement struck Jake deeply, igniting a flicker of warmth within him. "I found your journal," he blurted out, the honesty of his admission breaking the tension like a fragile glass shattered on the floor. There, in the stillness of their home, he revealed not just the discovery of a book, but of Emily herself, the dreams, the hopes, the person he had grown distant from over time. Emily's eyes widened, then softened as something flickered behind them. "You read it?" she whispered, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth, uncertainty battling hope. "I need to understand," Jake replied, his own voice barely above a whisper. "I want to know all of it. Your dreams. Everything that matters to you." The expression on her face shifted. Emotions played across her features as she approached him, each step sending a rush of unrefined memories crashing back. I thought you didn't care anymore, she said, regret mingling with longing in her tone. Jake stepped closer, taking in the details of her face, the way her brows knitted together in worry, the way her lips parted slightly as if they held words ready to leap forth. I did care. I just didn't know how to show it. I let everything else get in the way, and I forgot the most important thing was you. As Emily looked down, tears welled in her eyes, shimmering like hope. I've been scared, Jake. I've been scared that you'd moved on, that I was just a memory. No, he murmured, reaching out and cupping her cheek gently. You are more than that. You are still my heart. The dreams we forged together are still here, waiting for us to claim them. A breath caught in Emily's throat as she processed his words. It was a moment filled with possibility, like the first light of dawn breaking through the darkness that had settled around them. She searched his gaze, saw the sincerity there, and felt the walls she'd built slowly begin to crack. What if we just start over, she suggested, a glimmer of hope lighting up her eyes. Jake smiled, relief washing over him. Let us paint a new canvas together. What do you want the mural to be? What colors do you want to bring back into our lives? Emily's heart swelled, filled with unspent dreams and emotions bubbling beneath the surface. I want it to be vibrant. I want to host classes, teach the kids. I want to explore again together. As they stood there, vulnerability hanging delicately between them, Jake took a step back, retreating into the uncertainty that always lurked just beneath the surface. But what if we fail again? The question lingered, heavy and unguarded. Emily took a deep breath. Then we fail together and try again. One brushstroke at a time. Their hands found each other, fingers interlocking as if sealing a promise made on uncertain ground. Just as they began to lean into this new chapter, a soft knock resonated through the door, a reminder that the world still waited beyond. Jake's heart raced again. Do we answer it? Or do we keep this moment for ourselves? The uncertainty of their next move lingered in the air, both of them reluctant to break the precious connection they had begun to forge anew. What lay behind that door could change everything once again. Emily's heart pounded as the knock echoed again, a sound so ordinary yet laden with significance. It felt like a drumroll for their tentative reunion. She caught Jake's gaze, an unspoken question hanging between them. Should they confront the world or cocoon themselves in the fragile warmth of this moment? The knock came once more, insistent and resolute. Jake's brow furrowed, and as he contemplated who might be waiting outside, someone from the past, someone who could disrupt this delicate thread they were starting to weave, fear crept back in. Maybe we should just, he started, but Emily shook her head gently, her resolve firm. No, Jake. We can't hide forever. If we're going to start fresh, we need to be honest. With each other, and with whoever that is. Jake hesitated, but the glimmer of determination in Emily's eyes urged him forward. He stepped toward the door, each footstep heavy yet electrifying. The world outside felt foreign and familiar all at once, like stepping into a space that had once been theirs, but that they had let slip away. With a deep breath, he opened the door, revealing a woman standing there, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. It was Sarah, an old friend, and their former neighbor, her hands clutching a grocery bag, long hair tousled as if she had rushed over. Hey, I didn't realize you were back, she said, glancing between them, her eyes starting with curiosity. I just wanted to drop off some cookies and check in on you both. I heard some commotion when I passed by. Thanks, Jake said, his voice faltering slightly as he stepped aside to let her in. He glanced back at Emily, who wore a small smile, relief and hesitation painted across her features. It was a welcome distraction, but not the reunion they had envisioned. As Sarah made her way to the small kitchen table that barely held the remnants of their shared life, she chattered about the neighborhood, filling the silence with anecdotes that felt both comforting and bittersweet. Emily and Jake exchanged meaningful glances, the moment feeling like a fragile glass ball balancing on the edge of a shelf. It was suddenly clear that the past was still present. What is going on between you two? Sarah finally asked, her eyes sparkling with the kind of curiosity that only an old friend could possess. Jake felt Emily stiffen slightly beside him. "We're trying to find our way back," he said, uncertainty lacing his words. "Oh, that's wonderful," Sarah replied, excitement bubbling in her voice. "You two are the perfect couple. If anyone can get through this, it's you guys." The words hung in the air, a bittersweet reminder of their distance, of time lost. Emily's hand slipped into Jake's, fingers intertwining as if seeking comfort and strength. For a moment, that felt right. She turned her gaze to Sarah, determination etched on her face. "We want to work on it. But we're not sure how to really make it stick this time," Emily confessed, unease mingling with vulnerability. Sarah smiled, her face illuminating with understanding. "You should explore what that means for each of you. Make room for those dreams you've been carrying. They're still yours to chase together." Jake felt a surge of hope alongside the swell of gratitude. It felt like they were getting permission to dream again, a token of belief in their journey ahead. But uncertainty wove through him too. The fear of past mistakes loomed large, threatening to pull them back into darkness. As Sarah continued to chat, Jake stole glances at Emily, their hands still melded together. He leaned closer to her, whispering, "What do we do next?" Before Emily could even respond, the door creaked open wider, and another figure emerged, a silhouette unmistakable. Jake's heart dropped. "Mom?" The vision of the past had returned, reshaping their present in the most unexpected way. What would this visitor bring into their fragile new beginning? Jake's breath hitched in his throat as he stared, almost unable to process the figure at the door. His mother, eyes wide and searching, stood in the entryway, as if trying to piece together fragments of a story she hadn't known existed. "Jake," she breathed, her voice a soft tremor. There was love there, but it was wrapped in a fog of concern and years of absence. "What are you doing here?" he managed, the edge of disbelief sharpening his tone. Emily felt a rush of heat climb up her neck. This wasn't how they had envisioned rekindling their relationship. She cast a brief look at Jake, their shared connection suddenly overshadowed by the weight of family expectations. I wanted to see you," his mom said, her voice wavering like a fragile flame. "I didn't know you were back in town." "Yeah, well, I just got here," Jake replied, his frustration rising. "It's not like I announced it to the world." She winced at the bite in his words. "I know things have been rough between us, but can we talk? Just for a moment?" Emily watched the two, caught in a whirlpool of emotions. She sensed Jake's apprehension, the buried feelings erupting like a volcano. Would the past derail their chance at rebuilding? "Mom, I'm not sure now's the best time," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. But she stepped into the house, unwilling to retreat now that she saw him again. "Please, I need to explain. There's so much you don't know about why I left." Jake's expression hardened. "You think that's what I want? More excuses? You walked out on us when I needed you. Let us not do this here," Emily interjected softly. She felt a knot in her stomach. This was turning into a potentially explosive conflict. "Maybe we could sit down and figure this out?" Sarah, momentarily forgotten, shifted awkwardly. "You know I can give you guys some privacy," she said, her natural instinct to diffuse tension kicking in. But both Jake and his mother barely acknowledged her presence. "Can we at least get some coffee?" Jake suggested, his eyes flicking toward the kitchen. He felt the need for something grounding. Maybe caffeine could help wrangle these emotions. "Fine," his mom said, with a hint of defeat, looking around the kitchen as if it were a stranger's home. "Let us just talk." The three moved into the kitchen, the diminishing warmth of the moment hanging heavy between them. Each clink of dishes and shuffle of feet filled the silence. The air was thick with tension. Emily busied herself pouring coffee, stealing glances at Jake. He looked older, more weighed down by the fragments of their past. She felt a sick yearning to reach out to him, but was afraid of what rehashing all this would do. "Why now, Mom?" Jake finally asked, voice low but firm. "Why are you here after all this time?" It was a question that barely left room for a soft answer. His mother blinked back, tears compressing the words that hung between them like stones. "I never stopped thinking about you, Jake. I made mistakes, But I've changed, and I want to make amends. Jake's expression fluctuated between fury and sadness. How do I know this is real? You left once. What's to stop you from doing it again? A silence fell as they processed the implications of his words. Emily's heart thudded uncomfortably, the weight of their shared history pressing down like a heavy blanket. Because I know now what I lost by leaving, she began, but faltered as all eyes turned to her. Emily, this is between us, Jake said, though the softness in his voice indicated he was thankful she was there with him. Or it's between all of us, she countered gently. If we're going to move forward together, every truth matters. Before anyone could respond, the door creaked again. A familiar voice called out, Jake? Are you here? His heartbeat quickened at the sound. Who could it be now? Mom, wait, he started, knowing that nothing could prepare him for yet another surprise that could alter everything. But what was it that awaited them just outside? Jake felt a rush of dread wash over him. The voice echoed again, this time louder and more insistent. Jake? Are you in there? He turned to his mother, confusion etched on his face. Her expression mirrored his, a mixture of anxiety and bewilderment. Emily's eyes darted between them, uncertainty weighing heavy in the air. Should I get it? Sarah offered hesitantly, sensing the sudden tension. But before anyone could respond, Jake was already stepping toward the door, heart pounding in his chest. Yeah, just wait here, he muttered. He opened the door slowly, half afraid of who might be on the other side. And there she stood. Megan. His ex-wife, radiant yet with a hint of distress in her eyes. Jake's breath caught. Megan? Jake, she began, but Jake cut her off. What are you doing here? His tone was sharper than he intended, but he couldn't help it. The chaotic emotions brewing inside him were spilling over. I came to find you. I needed to talk, she said, stepping inside, her presence commanding the space with uneasy familiarity. Jake's gaze flicked back to his mother, who remained rooted in place, disbelief crossing her face. Emily was caught in the middle, unsure of whether to intervene or stand back. Now? Of all times? Jake asked, his voice cracking slightly. This isn't exactly a good moment. We were just there. More you need to know, Megan interrupted, her urgency palpable. About what happened, why I left. A low murmur of uncertainty filled the kitchen. Jake felt his insides twist. He had spent countless nights wondering about the reasons and the regrets of their relationship. Excuses again? He shot back, forcing himself to maintain a veneer of strength. We've been through this. No, Jake, please, she begged, her voice strained. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I did it to protect you, both of you. Protect us? Jake scoffed. You walked out on our lives. That's not protection. That's abandonment. Megan's eyes glistened with tears. I know. But there were things I couldn't explain at the time. I was afraid of what I might bring into your life. A thick silence enveloped them all. Emily noticed the way Jake's fists clenched, his entire posture rigid with unresolved pain. This was more than a simple conversation. It was a reckoning, one that reverberated across years of sorrow. What could possibly justify that? Jake challenged, his voice raw. You don't just vanish, Megan. You left me shattered. I didn't have a choice, she insisted, her words tumbling over each other. There were things in my past, things you didn't know about me. They could have hurt you. Every single moment you were gone hurt me, Jake hissed, frustration pouring out as tears pricked at his eyes. As he clenched his fists at his sides, his heart pounded louder than his voice. He felt trapped in this cycle of hurt. In that moment, Emily stepped forward, her heart aching for both of them. Jake, maybe we should know, he said sharply, not looking at her. I need to hear this. Megan took a deep breath, steadying herself. When I left, it was to protect you from the truth that has haunted me. Jake's heart raced. The weight of her decision echoed in the room, and he felt the threads of his past call out, urging him to listen. What truth? As the question hung in the air, they all leaned in, the tension racing higher like a coiling spring ready to snap. Please just sit down. I need to explain everything. With those words, everything changed. Jake's heart raced with dread and a flicker of hope. What was the truth that could alter everything? As they moved to the table, He knew they were on the edge of a revelation that could shatter the fragile peace they were trying to build. But was he ready for what lay ahead? Jake hesitated, the chair creaking under him as he lowered himself into it. His gaze was fixed on Megan, who was now searching for the right words as if they were trapped within her. The stakes felt impossibly high, greater than any argument they'd ever had. Megan looked at Emily and Sarah, her expression pleading. "You don't have to be here for this," she said softly. "It's about Jake and me." "No," Jake interjected, his voice firm. "If this concerns me, they need to hear it too." He couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something monumental. Megan nodded, swallowing hard. "Okay, but please understand, I never meant to hurt anyone. I only thought about protecting our future." Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Just tell me what it is," he said, his voice a murmur barely above a whisper. What could possibly justify leaving everything behind? A long, charged silence stretched between them. Then, Megan began to speak, her voice trembling. "I made a choice when we were still together, one based on fear. There were people, dangerous people from my past. They found me, Jake. I saw them just before I left." Jake's heart dropped. The sharpness of her words cut through him. "Dangerous people? What do you mean?" "It's hard to explain," Megan said, her eyes starting to the shadowy corners of the room, as though she expected someone to emerge from them. "These were people connected to my family, a past I tried to escape. When they came for me, I panicked. I thought if I stayed, you would get hurt. So you decided to hurt me instead?" Jake's voice rose in pitch, hurt flooding through him. "You thought disappearing was better?" He shook his head, disbelief etching deep lines across his forehead. "You put your fears over my love?" "No," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I thought I was doing what was best. I was terrified. And now I wish I'd told you sooner." Jake regarded her, the emotional weight higher than it had ever been. He felt empathy flicker within him, though just barely. "Why now? Why come back? What changed?" Megan looked directly into his eyes, her gaze steady as if she had finally found her footing. "I've faced my demons, Jake. I thought they were gone, but they're not just memories, they're a part of me. I can't let that hold me hostage anymore, or let it put your life at risk again." Emily exchanged a worried glance with Sarah, who was clearly uncomfortable. Jake's mind raced as he tried to digest everything Megan was telling him. "What do you mean, put my life at risk?" His voice trembled slightly. "Are they coming after you again?" The gravity of his question seemed to hang in the air, thickening the tension within the room. "I don't know," Megan admitted, her voice cracking. "But if they do, I want you to be prepared to be safe. I need your help." A whirlwind of emotions crashed over Jake: confusion, anger, a spark of desire to help, all bubbling to the surface. "You want me to help? After everything?" Megan nodded slowly, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. "Yes. I need to deal with this once and for all, and I can't do it alone." The weight of her words made it hard for Jake to think. Could he really step back into her life after all this pain? He wanted to scream, to shout at her that it sounded like a crazy plea. But deep down, he could also feel a flicker of concern for her safety. What if she was right? As the silence echoed in the kitchen, Jake felt the walls closing in on him. Should he help her? And what would that mean for his future? Just as he opened his mouth to answer, the doorbell rang again, a sharp interruption that shattered the stillness of the moment. Jake's heart raced, a new surge of anxiety flooding through him. Who else could it be now? All eyes turned to the door, and with it came a fresh wave of uncertainty. What new complications would this storm bring? Jake's heart thundered as he moved toward the door, each step heavy with the weight of unanswered questions and raw emotions. His mind was a tumultuous sea of fear, anger, and a lingering echo of love for Megan. Taking a deep breath, he reached for the doorknob and opened it. Standing on the threshold was a stranger, tall, dressed in a dark jacket, his expression serious and intense. There was an air of urgency about him that made Jake's pulse quicken. "Are you Jake?" the man asked, his voice low and steady. "Yes, who are you?" Jake replied cautiously, glancing back at Megan, who was still seated, eyes wide in apprehension. "I need to talk to you. It's important." The stranger stepped forward, invading Jake's personal space with an intensity that made him take a step back. Jake's instincts kicked in. What do you want? Listen, this isn't just a social visit. It's about Megan. There are things you both need to know. The guy's gaze shifted between Jake and Megan as if gauging their reactions. Megan rose slowly from her chair. What do you mean? How do you know about us? Panic laced her voice. I know more than you realize. I've been following them. He gestured toward the shadows that seemed to linger at the edges of the room. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help. Help with what? Jake demanded, the protective instinct kicking in. If this is about those people from her past, I don't want any part of it. The man shook his head. You don't understand. They've already got a lock on her. It's worse than you know. I've seen them. His words sliced through the fog of confusion in Jake's mind. Megan took a step closer to Jake, her shoulders tense. What do you mean? Who are they? The man exhaled, his breath visible in the cool air. You were right to be worried, Jake. They're coming. They found her footprint and are catching up. This isn't just about her anymore. It's about you too. A chill ran down Jake's spine. He felt the weight of Megan's history crashing into their present, suffocating the hope he had for a future. What do we do? You need to trust me. We need to move fast, contain this before it spirals out of control, he said, scanning the room as if expecting an ambush. Megan clutched Jake's arm, her trembling fingers betraying her fear. The intensity of the moment hung thick in the air, every heartbeat amplifying the sense of dread crawling up Jake's spine. Why should we trust you? Jake asked, trying to maintain composure. Because I've seen what they can do when they catch up to someone, the man insisted, his voice urgent. I've witnessed the fallout. I can help you protect yourselves, but you have to act now. Time isn't on your side. Jake felt his world narrowing down to a singular, overwhelming thought: Megan was at risk again. A wave of protectiveness surged through him like fire, pushing aside his doubts. What do we need to do? Megan looked between them, desperation etching lines in her face. Jake, please, we can't let this happen again. But as questions swirled around in his mind, one thought flickered with terrifying clarity: every choice forged in the chaos could lead to the end of everything he cared about. Just then, the door creaked behind the stranger, and he turned his head, eyes widening in alarm. They're here, we don't have much time. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Instinct kicked in. He had to protect Megan. With adrenaline flooding his veins, he pushed the door closed, bracing against it, heart racing. Get away from the windows, he shouted. A night full of uncertainty loomed ahead. Would they survive the reckoning both had tried to outrun? As Jake struggled to keep it all together, a voice behind him called out, what if they don't just want Megan? What if they want you too? The weight of that implication crashed into him as shadows crept from the corners. Jake felt the panic rising in his throat. The stranger shifted, his body tense like a coiled spring, ready to react. Megan's grip tightened around Jake's arm as if their combined strength would somehow ward off whatever danger lurked just beyond the door. Each thud of his heart mirrored the quickened pulse of fear coursing through them. Get ready, the stranger hissed, his voice dropping to a whisper. If they find out you know about them, everything is over. Megan's eyes darted around the room, restless, searching for an escape she could not see. The reality of her previous life weighed heavier now, and Jake couldn't shake the feeling that she was always under threat. He felt anger mixed with an overwhelming desire to protect her. What do you suggest we do? He demanded, trying to maintain control despite the adrenaline pumping through him. Follow me. We'll rendezvous with someone who can help someone who understands. Who? Jake shot back, skepticism creeping into his tone. He didn't trust this mysterious man, but his instinct to safeguard Megan overruled his hesitation. An ally who knows their tactics. They can help us conceal your movements, keep you off their radar. The stranger glanced back toward the door, anxiety etched into his features. What if we just call the police? Megan's voice trembled, caught between fear and defiance. They could protect us. Not this time, the stranger replied sharply. They're connected. The police won't stand a chance against them. We have to think smarter. Jake quickly glanced toward Megan. Her worry mirrored his own, but beneath it, he saw a flicker of determination. "We don't have any other options," he murmured. "If we trust him, we're at least taking action." "Fine," Megan said, her jaw set, a fierce resolve taking root in her gaze. "What is the plan? Do you have any gear packed?" The stranger questioned, his voice urgent. "Anything you might need?" It took Jake a moment, but he finally nodded. "Yeah, in the bedroom. I can grab it." Without waiting for an answer, he moved toward the narrow hallway that led to their bedroom, each step echoing a sense of dread and chaos. "Megan," he called back, hearing the rustle of her footsteps behind him. "Stay close." As he reached the door, he quickly opened it, snatching a duffel bag filled with essentials. He stuffed in clothes, a couple of personal items, and whatever else he could think of that they might need on the run. Every item he placed inside only deepened the apprehension swirling inside him. Megan entered, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "Jake, I don't want to go back to that life. Not again." He paused, torn by his heart's desire to comfort her and the harsh reality gripping their future. "We're not going back. I promise, I won't let that happen. We'll find a way." Once the bag was packed, the trio moved silently back to the living room. The stranger gestured for them to follow him toward a side exit that led out into the alley. It was shadowy and cramped, each step taking them further away from the safety of home into an unknown filled with peril. Just as they exited, a sudden noise pierced the quiet, a vehicle screeching to a halt just outside. The stickiness of fear gripped Jake's stomach. "They're here. Run." The stranger barked, and Jake grabbed Megan's hand, sprinting down the alley as adrenaline surged through him. The darkness enveloped them, but behind him, he could hear the soft thuds of footsteps, gaining ground. With every step they took, the thought solidified, they weren't the only ones running. And this nightmare was far from over. "Where do we go from here?" he shouted over his shoulder as they dashed toward a faint glimmer of light. "I know a place," the stranger replied, urgency painting his words. "But we have to get there before they catch up." Jake's heart raced, but the future loomed ahead in a blinding haste. What lay in that unknown place could either save them or deliver them straight into the jaws of danger. Between the fear and the hope, Jake could feel reality unraveling. Would they ultimately find refuge, or was this just the beginning of a much darker chapter? Jake's pace quickened as they turned a corner at the end of the alley, the sound of their pursuers echoing behind them like a relentless wave. They ran guided only by the desperation fueling their every stride. The chill of the night air wrapped around them, but Jake's thoughts seemed hotter than fire, racing with every possible outcome. "Here!" the stranger yelled, pointing toward a dimly lit doorway at the end of the street. "In there." They skidded to a halt as they reached the door, and he shoved it open. The smell of stale beer and old wood hit them, and they stumbled inside, chaos following close behind. The stranger closed the door quickly, pressing his ear against it as he breathed heavily, his face a mask of concentration. Megan leaned against the wall, her body trembling. "Where are we?" she whispered, glancing around the rough, sparsely lit space. "A safe house." "For now," the stranger replied, his voice still shaky but low, a stark contrast to the urgency of their earlier flight. "We'll regroup here until things calm down." Jake paced the narrow space, his fingers absently running along the rough wood of the table. "What happens next?" he asked, trying to tame the rising tide of uncertainty swelling in his chest. The stranger finally took a moment to breathe, leaning against the door. "We have to lay low. You can't be found. I remind you, they're always one step ahead." "Who are they?" Megan's voice quivered, a knot settling deep in her stomach. "They're shadowy figures with connections in places you wouldn't even imagine. They trade information. They manipulate." The stranger's voice dripped with disdain. The air felt thick as Jake forced the pieces together in his mind. "And we're just pawns?" "In a manner of speaking, yes," the stranger replied curtly. "But don't lose hope. There are players who want to disrupt their operations, including my contact." "What is their name? Who are we counting on?" Jake asked, his jaw tightening with uncertainty. "I can't tell you that yet. We need to trust each other, and for now, it's safer if you don't know, he said, his eyes darting back to the door as an ominous sound resounded from the darkened streets outside. Then what do we do until we figure this out? Megan squeezed Jake's hand, seeking comfort in the warmth of his palm. Stay quiet and stay alert, the stranger instructed. When the time is right, we'll move again. Moments stretched painfully in the cramped space, and Jake stared into Megan's worried eyes. This is just temporary. We'll get through this. He tried to reach her heart with each word, hoping to contain the fear they both felt. She nodded slowly, but couldn't quite meet his gaze, focusing instead on the shadows dancing across the walls. In the silence that followed, Jake could almost hear their hearts beating in sync, fast, frantic, defiant. Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated from the door. They know we're here. The stranger hissed, gripping the doorknob tightly. Get ready to move. Jake's breath caught as he pulled Megan closer, bracing for whatever might come next. The air crackled with tension, the sense of impending danger palpable. He could feel the weight of the moment settle squarely on his shoulders. Wait, he shouted, as the stranger turned the knob, ready to make a run for it. What is the plan? What if they're waiting for us out there? But as the door swung open, a figure stood silhouetted against the street lamplight, casting a long shadow inside the room. The stranger's face drained of color. Who are you? He stammered, stepping back instinctively. There was a pause, a moment where everything seemed suspended in time, before the figure finally spoke. I'm here to help. But we need to move. Now. Jake's heart raced, countless questions buzzing in his mind. But one crystal-clear thought emerged. Who could they really trust now? And, just like that, the darkness of uncertainty swallowed them whole again. The room trembled with tension, the shadows pulsing with dread and urgency. Jake faced this new figure, trying to decipher whether they were an ally or a threat. Help? Who are you? He managed to stammer, his voice wavering under the weight of anxiety. The stranger stepped into the dim light, and for a brief moment, Jake caught a glimpse of determination etched in the features of a woman. I'm Lila, she said, urgency coloring her tone. I've been tracking those who want to hurt you, and we don't have much time. Jake's heart raced. What do you mean? Who are they? They're mercenaries, Lila explained, eyes scanning the small room like a hawk searching for prey. Once they realize you're still in town, they'll come looking for you, and it won't be a friendly visit. Megan, still clinging to Jake's hand, clutched her chest, feigning disbelief. Why are they after us? What do they want? Your past, Megan. They want what you know, or rather, what you used to know about your family, Lila answered, emphasizing each word as if crafting a lifeline. And while we can't go into more detail now, your lives depend on moving quickly. Jake exchanged a worried glance with Megan, the weight of her past crashing down on their fragile present. He wanted to protect her, but they had no idea what they were really up against. How do we even know you're not part of this? Jake asked, his brow furrowed with suspicion. I get that you're scared, Lila said, a genuine note softening her voice. But if I wanted to hurt you, you'd be in chains right now. I'm trying to get you out of this mess. The stranger nodded, the urgency palpable, the tension thick enough to slice. We have to go. Now. The window of safety is closing. Jake felt the gauntlet being thrown. It was now or never. Let us go then, he said, gripping Megan's hand tighter while taking a step toward the door. But I need a plan. It can't just be running blindly. Follow me, and stay quiet, Lila warned. I know a route that can get us out of here safely. With barely a moment to collect themselves, they moved swiftly, slipping through the door Lila had opened into the chill of the night. Outside, the distant sounds of sirens echoed like warnings, urging them to keep moving. The alley they entered felt like a labyrinth, broken bricks and flickering lights created shadows that twisted at their heels. Each step felt like eternity, the air demanding they keep pace with their panic. Where are we going? Megan whispered, breathless, terror glistening in her eyes. We can't have anyone trailing us, Lila replied, leading them deeper into the dark streets. But I promise there's a safe house where you can gather your thoughts and plan your next steps. Just trust me. Jake could feel every pulse of his heart, adrenaline feeding his determination. He squeezed Megan's hand slightly. Whatever happens, we're in this together. They darted into a building that resembled a warehouse, its entrance unmarked and hidden. Lila opened the door, urging them inside. The space was dim, just enough light illuminating the edges to reveal dusty crates and vacant corners. Once inside, they huddled together, the gravity of their situation pressing in. First things first, Lila began. We need you to stay here while I scout the area. Jake, you know your town best. Is there anywhere safe where you can meet people who might help? Jake thought hard. His instincts were screaming at him. I have a friend, Jake. He owns a garage over on Pine Street. He does work for your type of people. If anyone knows how to hide us, it's him. Good. We'll need to move fast, but it'll take some time to reach him, Lila nodded. We can't stay here long. Megan's voice shook. What if we're found? Then we fight back or flee. Either way, they won't take you again, Lila assured, her expression hardened with resolve. Just as they began to strategize their next moves, a loud noise rattled through the warehouse, the ominous sound of footsteps growing closer. Jake's pulse quickened. They found us. Lila shifted into combat mode. Follow my lead, stay close, and don't look back. We need to get to another exit. With his heart pounding louder than ever, Jake grabbed Megan's hand and ran. They rushed through the maze of crates, the footfalls behind them echoing like thunder. Over here, Lila shouted as she swung open another door, revealing a passage that spiraled downwards. We'll use the maintenance tunnel to escape. The sound of footsteps grew frantic, the certainty of their pursuer right on their heels. They dashed into the dimly lit tunnel, Lila leading the way while Jake and Megan kept close behind, breathing heavily. Go! Don't stop! Lila's voice carried urgency, urging them forward. Inside the tunnel, damp air surrounded them, a stark contrast to the chaos above. Shadows flickered as they raced forward, every second feeling charged. The way ahead branched out into multiple paths, a spider's web of dark choices. Fear gripped Jake. Choosing wrong could lead them into a trap. Which way? Jake shouted, glancing backward, their pursuit growing ever closer. Left. Lila commanded, and without taking a moment to second-guess, they veered left into the unknown again. As they ran, adrenaline coursing through their veins, the fear of being caught loomed larger than life. Would they finally find a way to stop the chaos? Would any hope remain after this harrowing night? Jake's heart raced not just for his life, but for the life of the woman beside him. If they could survive this, maybe there was a chance for a future filled with their dreams, together. They dashed down the tunnel, running toward an uncertain horizon, igniting a spark of hope within the encroaching darkness. But would they reach the light before it was too late? Jake clung to Megan tighter, every ounce of his being consumed by the mantra, "We will make it through." Because they had something worth fighting for: their love, their story, and the opportunity to reclaim their lives. With the darkness closing in, the truth echoed within him. They weren't just running to survive, they were running for their very essence. And they wouldn't stop until they found it. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every single click matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this gripping ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video. Tell at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Show your support and let us keep this journey alive.